In this Burnout Extra, I'm going to show you how to replace a brake caliper on disc brakes for this 2000 Jeep Cherokee. Now this can apply to almost any caliper on almost any disc brakes. It will look very similar to this, and it will have either 1 or 2 pistons coming out, but regardless, the process will be the exact same. First thing you have to do is loosen the lug nuts on your tire and get the car off the ground so that you can get the tire off the car. So right in the back of the caliper, there'll be 2 bolts holding this caliper on. And they're right here. They have the rubber boots that are right next to them. So it'll be a 10 millimeter. If you have a wrench, that'll be fine. I have an impact, so I'm gonna buzz it off with that. But it'll be 2 of them, one at the top, one at the bottom, and you want to take those off. This caliper should be removable back once those 2 bolts are out. So you have to take those out first. Right now what I'm doing is taking a screwdriver and prying the caliper off. Remember that the reason why I'm replacing this is because it's stuck on, so it's stuck compressed. So what I'm doing right now is essentially trying to pry it off because it should be loose enough where you can pull it off by hand, maybe with a little strength, but this one is not. So I'm having to kind of pry it off of the rotor because the compression is so stuck together. Oh. Now this is very similar to replacing your brake pads, and that video I have on the channel as well. I'll link that up in the corner. But right now you just want to remove the pads that are on the caliper, especially if you're reusing the pads. If you have new pads, then obviously you don't want to save these, but in this case I have brand new pads and not a new caliper. So one of these pads actually slides off of this bottom part here, and then this other one kind of pops out of the hole. So one of them will sit in this hole in the caliper, and then the other one will kind of sit on top of this bracket. So I just have to get this off. There it is. The next part is going to be disconnecting the old brake line that is the flex line that goes to the caliper, and then connecting that immediately to the new caliper. Now remember that once you remove this, there will be brake fluid that drips out. So the goal here is to pretty much not waste as much brake fluid as possible. Regardless, this is a 14 millimeter. I'm just gonna buzz it right off with this socket and impact, and then get ready to slap it on to the new caliper here. We gotta get this on. When you're placing the line back onto the new caliper, it's important to notice that you have a gasket in between the bolt and what's going to go into the line, as well as the other gasket right in between where the line connects to the caliper. That'll essentially provide a seal for the brake fluid to go in, and that's very important. So once again, you want a gasket or these little rubber washers on either side of the brake line when it's tightening down. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Whew. Now if you can do it faster than I can, you're in good shape. Once you're all tight connecting the bolt to the line into the caliper, everything should be good to go for you to put your brake pads back on. So what I'm gonna do is start with this bottom brake pad, and you wanna snap the 2 pins in, and then the other brake pad that snaps right into the caliper itself, you're gonna want to push right into that inner circle there. This is fairly simple. It also helps to take these bolts out because that's what mounts in the bracket after. So sometimes they might get in the way. You can kind of just push them up or pull them out and put them back in after. An important thing to note with this pad right here is that the notches are in the correct place. You don't want this pad to be slightly up or in the wrong place because then it won't ride correctly on the rotor. But at this point, once you've got both the pads installed, it's a good idea to push these pins back with your finger, and then you should be able to just slide it right on to the rotor. If I can get the rotor straight, like so. make sure that these brake pads next slide right into this bracket as they should. So there should be a little notch at the top here, and I'll just slide those in like that. And then the bottom just sit on like so. And at this point, it will be a little loose until you're able to get those two bolts in the back. Once the two bolts in the back are nice and tight, then you should be good to go. At this point, if you lost a lot of brake fluid, it's ideal to bleed the brakes, which means just opening the bleeder valve, having somebody press on the pedal, and make sure there's fluid consistently flowing through. With that said, when you get in the car to start your car and drive it next, the first thing you're gonna wanna do before starting the car or before taking it out of park is just pump the brake pedal. Now, this pedal is essentially not used to having the new caliper, so it needs to send fluid to the new caliper. And that involves pumping the pedal to push that fluid in this direction. So like I said, it's safer that way. That way you have immediate brakes when you go to reverse or pull out of your spot. And like I said, just pumping the brakes will do that trick probably 3 or 4 times. It will get the fluid into that spot and you should be good to go. So at this point, you're tight in the back. Make sure this line is not leaking at all. And the caliper is good to go as long as the brake pads are sitting in the right place, which mine look to be just fine. At this point, you can just put the tire back on, make sure the lug nuts are tight, lower the car, and be sure to pump that brake pedal a couple times. That's going to be all for this Burnout Extra. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helped. Be sure to smash the like button down below if this helped you out, and definitely subscribe to the channel. And if you want to see more of this Jeep Cherokee, be sure to check out burnoutshow.com/fleet. You can see all the vehicles that we own and currently work on and the repairs that we actually do to them as well. So be sure to check that out. Once again, that's burnoutshow.com. By visiting the site or subscribing, that greatly helps our channel and helps us grow as a company. So we greatly appreciate the support and hope to see you next time.